From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. With Gina Grad on news, Bald Bryan on sound effects, Dr. Drew calls in, and we'll do a live Q&A's courtesy of the Stereo app. And now, his secretly recorded phone calls are a lot funnier. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. A choice, but the under mandate you get it on. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian.
What I do now.
So Drew's going to get us caught up on his illness, as well as a few other thoughts, because I spoke to him earlier today. So we got that coming up soon. I got unprepared for you guys. Also, got some stuff I wanted to talk about. I want to get a haircut, but there's no haircuts to be found now. All these places are closed down. So
explain to those of us who don't get haircuts. Are the salons like closed? Are they doing outdoor stuff? Is this a city by city thing? I have not heard one way or the other in months.
They started, months ago by closing them, and then they moved them outdoors. So people just went out on the sidewalk and got a haircut.
And it wasn't in the breezy, crisp fall.
No.
That was in the height of the heat wave.
Yes, and then they let them go back indoors, and they limited the people. The line would form outside. They would let a small number of people inside, and then they had all the masks and the social distancing and all that stuff, and you'd get your haircut with the mask on, and when they did like your sideburns, you'd pull the hook off the one ear, and they'd work on that, and you just kind of hold it, and then you'd rehook it on that side and unhook it on the opposite side, and they do the other sideburn.
That was broken somehow?
I don't know, but my thought that I had a little earlier today was this. Far as I can tell, people, and especially women, and maybe this will pertain a little more to women, are still getting their hair cut and their hair colored. It's a big deal for a large segment of women. There's a lot of women that just don't want to go gray, and they don't want the gray roots, and the hair is a big deal. So no woman I know has just gone, 10 months or a year without getting the roots dyed or the hair colored or the tint or the highlights or the hair blown out or the hair cut. So what they're doing is they're going and doing it sort of off the grid. People are coming. I know a woman who is a salon owner and does the hair cutting, and she goes to people's houses and cuts the hair. And also somebody let her use like their garage. And so she's in the garage and seeing people there. But I started thinking, well, obviously going to people's homes and cutting their hair and going to the garage and cutting hair is much worse than going to the salon and doing it, because the salon is regulated and they have all these protocols with all the plexiglass and the masks and everything. And it's all sort of in place, and they're all pretty dutifully following those rules. So you go from the place that has the rules, that's the safer place to get this done, to the sort of back alley haircut. And I really started thinking about the abortion, because the same same people that want the salons closed down were the same people that are making the argument that if you make the abortion clinics, if you defund the abortion clinics, people aren't going to stop getting abortions. They'll find a way, but it's going to be in a dangerous environment.
I'm not getting safe highlights. It's been a while. It's been very risky.
To me, although it sounds like a joke, it's really pretty analogous, which is there's a behavior, and the behavior is either getting your hair cut or getting an abortion. You closing down the abortion clinic, according to the logic of the people who want all the salons closed down, is not going to prevent anyone from getting an abortion. It's just going to make it dangerous. Now, you've done the same fucking thing with salons. You close the salon down, the barbershop down. People don't stop getting their haircut. They just start doing it from inside their home or in the garage or in the salon with the curtains drawn. And that's it. So I'm going to use your abortion argument and apply it to salons. People are going to engage in this behavior anyway, and now you're forcing them sort of underground in a non-sterile environment. Plus, did people really go to alleys to get abortions? I feel...
I imagine the entrance is off the alley. I don't know if the clinic is in the alley.
At some point,
up on a cot.
At some point, you got to head indoors for an abortion.
Yeah, that's right.
There's going to be lots of garbage men experiencing people getting abortions. It could be almost a daily experience for your garbage. Like I was going down the alley to the back of the restaurant. This chick was getting an abortion.
The rookie runs up to the old veteran. You're never going to believe what I saw. Let me guess, kid.
Yeah.
But excuse me, Mr. Funny Man, I was listening to what you had to say. I was taking copious notes. And if we're using your logic, then you're saying if we go inside to get our haircuts, we could catch an abortion. Now, if you have a pregnant woman come into your salon to get her highlights and lowlights done, she could miscarry because she wanted to take 3 inches off.
Nancy Grad, I don't think that's not what I was saying. I wasn't encouraging.
I don't think you care about these pregnant women. I don't think you're into safety. Somebody's going to snatch your child, give her a haircut. God willing, she doesn't have an abortion.
Slippery slope, Grad.
That's true.
Thank you.
Adam, you'll be happy to know that this is appropriate with Drew coming on. I quote you and Dr. Drew often. Adam and Drew circa, 1996 or so. I say all the time, when I'm talking to Christy or whatever, I'm like, you have to deal with reality on reality's terms. It's a famous, love line quote. Deal with reality on reality's terms. And it's like your example is like the needle exchange. People freaked out. We're going to give needles to heroin.
Or
the reality is these people are addicted to opiates and heroin, and they will inject themselves one way or another. Let's make sure they don't kill themselves and harm society in the process. Reality on reality terms.
I agree.
I'd love it if they could just stop. If we could say, "Hey, don't do that," but
they'd love it too.
That's not reality,
right? But I'm saying the group of people who are most vocal about needle exchanges and keeping the abortion clinics open, which I'm all for, are the same ones that are shutting down all these fucking salons. And again, it's just reality on reality's terms.
These women are addicted.
People are going to do it. Well, if you really take a woman and her hair, and I'm not talking necessarily about 23-year-old women, although it's a big deal for them, but 53-year-old women, that is a big ass deal. It's the last thing on their head that's potentially young. You know what I mean?
Rapunzel-esque.
Well, as a 53-year-old woman, everything on you is 53 years old, but your hair can potentially be perpetually 22 and a half. Mm-hmm. Like when you take a look at the Real Housewives of Orange County, everything on them is old or been rehabbed or refixed. They're basically like an old Buick in Cuba. You know what I mean? Yeah. They just fix them up and keep them back on the road. But the hair, if you took all of those 50-something-year-old women from Real Housewives of whatever city and you just blurred out every part of them except for their hair, you would not be able to tell the difference between a 25-year-old's hair and their hair. And that's the way they like it. They like the idea of wearing this 25-year-old helmet on top of this 55-year-old head.
Especially the Housewives of Atlanta.
Right.
Extensions.
Yeah.
Come on.
Which I always look at.
I got news for you. They all have extensions in Orange County and beyond.
Man, I think for me that's less a fashion statement than it is a safety thing. Because at some point when they get into a fight someone grabs onto the hair, much like the lizard's tail, it just pops off.
Right off.
For safety.
Clip on.
You can get
There's
away.
There's also a glue in. I wouldn't do that.
You can get away from your foe that way. Who used to be your best friend 3 glasses of Chardonnay ago, but now the shit's going down.
That's right.
All right, Drew is on line 1. Hey, Drew.
Yeah, buddy.
You're convalescing from home.
I am. I'm in bed, literally.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling more human. I am able to get out of bed and move around. You and I did a little bit of podcasting from bed. That felt good.
Yeah.
COVID fog is no BS. I can't think. I can't concentrate. I can't get overwhelmed really easily. Still coughing. Still short of breath when I try to do anything. Day 11, and I'm fighting not to be a long hauler. That's my one goal in life right now.
Yeah.
But I told you I have this strange emotional reaction where I'm like I'm glad I took the bullet for a couple of reasons. Because I get to see the patient perspective, and I want people to understand there's a ton to be done for this illness that can keep people out of the hospital, and why the F the public health departments are not educating people about this is just driving me insane. And A, and B, it drives me crazy to think not only am I a casualty on the field of battle, but people are being made worse by losing their businesses and not able to live their lives. I want people to go live. I'll take the bullet. You go just live responsibly. Don't get this thing, but get the damn vaccine and go live.
So what was your protocol? What did you start on immediately?
So I started on ivermectin and doxycycline, and I could tell the ivermectin was helping me. Then I got a call from Dr. Zelenko himself, who begged me to take hydroxychloroquine. I said, okay, I'll take it. I'm not convinced, but I'll take it. And the flu part ended pretty quickly, but then I moved into the dreaded part, which is what happens to old people. My son's got it too, and he's just had the flu, and he's actually pissed. He's like, why did I quarantine for 9 months for this? But it's what it's supposed to be. If you're older and if you have metabolic syndrome, you get these problems, which is this inflammatory stage where your lungs get inflamed, you get this pneumonia, you get all kinds of neurological symptoms. It's brutal. But I got put on dexamethasone early, Decadron, and I got a monoclonal antibody infusion that anybody can get. It's available on all insurances, including Medi-Cal. Your doctor just essentially applies at CVS, and a nurse shows up, and that really changed the direction of my illness. And why that isn't being advocated, it keeps people out of the hospital. I don't know why we're not helping people understand. Don't go to the emergency room, get a telemedicine visit, have the doctor sign up, get an infusion nurse, and go. There's nothing more that needs to be done. You can stay out of the hospital.
Is the infusion the Bama Falama Lama Lama Ding Dong, or what is it?
Say that 2 more times, please.
What is the infusion called? What is the name of it?
Bamlanivimab.
Bamlanivimab.
The inpatient version is Regeneron. The outpatient is Bamlanivimab. And if you're sick enough, you need to go in the hospital, you get the remdesivir. But this is a monoclonal antibody. And during the infusion, I actually felt better in the middle of the infusion. And I told the nurse, I go, look, I'm just going to report to you what I'm experiencing. I don't know if this is placebo or not, but colors are brighter and I feel stronger. And he goes, I hear that all day. And he goes, I'm infusing all day in poor people's houses, middle-class houses, rich people's houses. Why more people aren't doing this, I don't know. It's unreal to me that we have public health officials standing, wringing their hands and crying and telling people to stay home when they should be teaching them how to use the healthcare system.
Well, I was positing this thought earlier with Drew, which is, all you hear is the doom and the gloom and the body bags and the hospitals are overwhelmed and the spike and everything else. You never hear about protocols. I mean, wear a mask and social distance and stay home and be scared. But they never talk about what to do, what they have, medications, innovations, things like that, which is really what they should be talking about. I mean, the doom and the gloom part, that's fine, but it's almost not even really their job. Their job as, leaders should be, and medical professionals, here's what we're making progress on. Here's the protocols. If, in fact, you feel like you've come down with this, here's the first thing you should do.
Here's what to do.
Yeah, it kind of falls under the heading of vitamin D and exercise and sunshine and getting your immune system stronger. It's all stuff that's never discussed. So it's insane to me that all we do is talk about overwhelmed hospitals and first responders and spikes and dooms and glooms. And we never really talk about, well, what should we do? And if you sort of think about that and you just take a perspective and you go, well, let's not talk about it as a virus. Let's talk about it. Let's say we had our mayor and our city officials and our whomevers. Let's just say we're talking about earthquakes. What if they just kept talking about how bad earthquakes were? But nobody ever said, put some water aside, put some cash aside, have some dry food.
No.
Go
Got some
ahead and
batteries.
take that big bookshelf and fasten it to the wall so it doesn't tip over. Like, shouldn't part B be all the fucking shit we should know and should be doing? And we don't hear any of that. And I suspect we don't hear any of that because it doesn't fit with the theme, which is doom and gloom and stay home. If you started talking about things you could do and ways to lessen this disease, then I think in their mind that would then make a certain group of the populace think, oh, well, maybe it's okay to venture outside because if I venture outside and I get it, then I can do these protocols. So it may be a little nefarious, and maybe they may be not telling us any of that shit on purpose. And but the upshot of it is most people have no fucking idea what to do, and they just feel like they're going to go to a hospital
I'm here
that's
to tell you,
overwhelmed.
If you're, so my son's got it. He's got the flu. No big deal. He's actually pissed. He's been in quarantine for 9 months. So it's the flu if you're 28, and if you're 65, you get the flu followed by this inflammatory thing, and you need to hit it hard and early. You got to go at it. And one thing I really saw very clearly, I could tell if this thing got ahead of me, I would have been in big trouble. So you stay on it. I was managed every day by my doctor by the phone. I didn't have to go in anywhere. I had an infusion nurse, and I had some steroids. I had the bamlanivimab. I had ivermectin, and guess what? I responded to treatment. I stayed out of the hospital.
Yeah, and if you think about it, too, throughout the last 10 months, every time someone would tout something that would lessen it or decrease it or be helpful, the news would just jump all over and go, that's not going to do anything. That's dangerous,
right.
So it's like...
Right, that is the worst. That is killing people.
Right,
it's actually murderous.
We poo-pooed every idea. Every time somebody came up with an idea of some protocol that could actually be helpful, everyone jumped on it and said, that's not effective, long-term danger, blah, blah, blah. So
the World Health Organization now has come out strongly in favor of ivermectin. And, of course, as you and I were discussing, for the first time, the American press is crushing anything that comes out of the international healthcare system, as opposed to fully enthusiastically embracing it.
Well, did Trump withdraw from WHO or something? There is some sort of disconnection.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
This is a non-issue. What I'm telling you is the international literature is clear that ivermectin is helpful. There was a major publication today, and the U.S. press condemned it because it didn't fit their narrative. I don't care who the F is for it or against it. This is science. It works. People need to take this stuff and take it early. The fact that we allow politics or the press to enter into this conversation, that those words come out of our mouth, is killing people. And they need to get on the inflammatory treatments early, too. It's a medical problem, period. Nobody else should be having conversation about it. This is what I've been saying since February. This is what's been driving me out of my mind, is that we have people in the press having an opinion about complex medical issues. They should not even be... They don't know how to even pronounce the words they're talking about, let alone have actual clinical experience with it.
I'm on your side on this one, Drew. I have so many questions for you. First of all, you mentioned long hauler. I don't know what that is, if you could explain that. And also the cognitive, Adam, I know you did a while with Drew, so you probably know all this stuff, but what cognitive issues did you experience?
So I was so out of it. I couldn't think. I would watch TikTok for 4 or 5 hours and wouldn't even know the time had passed. So if Susan would ask me to do something, I couldn't understand what she was telling me. I couldn't sequence anything. Now I can't concentrate. I can't initiate anything. It's very hard to concentrate and initiate things. I could tell I was working on my schedule, and my staff told me that I was confusing them by just trying to schedule up delay patient visits and that kind of thing. And then long haulers is this syndrome of continued weakness, cough, COVID headache, COVID cognition changes that goes on for months. And
it becomes chronic?
In my experience,
Does it become chronic? Like it's just kind of there for God knows how
long?
long?
It goes from, most people resolve it in 4 to 6 months, but yeah, it does become kind of chronic in some people. And there's a lot of people working on it, trying to figure out what it is right now. And thus far, the only thing that does work for it is ivermectin. And I'm working with a group, a guy named Bruce Patterson and a guy named Ram Yogendra, who've been doing a lot of research on this. I am praying, my hope and wishes are that I hit it hard and early So in addition to avoiding hospitalization, I also wouldn't be a long hauler. Right now, it's the weirdest thing. I mean, I can get out of bed for about 10 minutes, and then I have to go back to bed. It's just the weirdest thing. I can at least get out of bed today.
As I've pointed out to Drew, he's always talking about his diminished cognition, but I spoke to Drew every single day for long periods of time, and I did not notice a difference. So you may have felt that way, Drew.
It's a fogginess. It's a fogginess, and it feels like there's you can't engage the wheels of thought. It's like you have to work hard to get your brain to think.
But it
just
wasn't
to be clear. Did you speak to Drew or did Drew speak to you? Because if he was listening, it might not have been as easy to pick up on.
I was probably complaining about my parents the whole time, and he was just nodding into the phone or nodding off.
But to be fair, we did a little hot Love Boat talk too. So.
We did, and I got a hot Love Boat clip for you, Drew, that I've put in the queue. So that's
Drew
exciting.
thought he was on the Love Boat.
So excited.
Steuben.
So
He kept saluting me. It was weird. What I'm saying is you felt way off your cognition game, but you didn't sound it. So that's
But I have some friends that are going through this too, and I touched base with them. And I just before you guys called, I talked to a guy that had he needed hospitalization. He had a bad case, and I was talking to him through it, and I could tell he was different now than before. And when people improve, you can kind of feel the improvement. And so, if you compared me to a week ago, I'm sure I'm better now.
I have to ask the obvious question, Drew. Do you have a hunch of where and how you caught it?
My hunch is running around the hospital trying to get the vaccine. I was stonewalled at my hospital, and because I didn't fit the exact profile necessary to get the vaccine, in spite of me saying I'm taking care of COVID patients, I'm keeping COVID patients out of the hospital, I will volunteer in the ER happily, stonewalled. Disgusting what happened there. I should never have gotten sick, and now I can't take care of my patients to keep them out of the hospital. But for the grace of God, I didn't take a hospital bed. Could have easily needed one. Really, our vaccine distribution program is a disgusting mess. It really is very upsetting to me what's happening with that. Every arm that's available should get the vaccine, period.
Hey, real quick, just because you said that, I just got a notification from Fox News saying that the FDA is weighing the plan to half dose everybody. Because, when you say there's 1 million doses, what they really mean is 500,000 doses because you need 2. And I know that you've said that the first dose is a pretty good kick. Would you sign off on something like that? I know we don't know everything.
I would sign up for it, but I find that bizarre because the problem is not the amount of vaccine. We have an embarrassment of riches with the amount of vaccine. We are not allowing people to get it. We're putting people in a queue, and we're demanding they stay in a queue, rather than trying to save life by giving as many doses as possible, as fast as possible. It's disgusting.
We know you got some unfavorable tweets from our friend Dag. I don't know if you have any thoughts on David Alan Grier.
Susan was engaging with him. That's sad to me. It's very, very sad. I've tried to reach out to him many, many times and tried to, I don't get it. I don't know what the problem is. I'd like to know. If I can do better, I'd happily take his input. I like that. I love Dag, and I don't understand the hatred. It's hard to understand.
But you guys went through this before, sort of pre-Trump, pre-politics, pre-everything, right?
Me and David?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He wasn't talking.
He would tell me.
He wasn't talking to you for a long
Raisin in the Sun?
time, right?
Yeah, there was a long time where he was sort of avoiding me, but I visited him in New York and stuff. I had nice interactions with him, and I really don't know.
You guys had a dust up long before this. This is the second.
I don't remember. What was it about?
Drew, it was pretty.
I really don't know.
Famously,
Adam, he has cognition
COVID
issues.
brain.
I guess you got COVID on the brain, Drew. He was not returning your calls and saying he didn't want to talk to you and things. This is 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I said I tracked him down in New York, and I had some nice interactions with him.
Yeah, but that's after you tracking him down and him not talking to you for a long period of time.
Well, but then I didn't understand what was going on either, and I don't understand what was going on. I wish I understood.
Well,
I know what it was. No. There was a thing where after you left Loveline on radio, he wanted to come on and be a guest, and Kevin Weatherly wouldn't allow it because it was too much, quote, Adam and Drew material. Please let some time pass. And I told him that, and he blamed me and said I could have overridden Kevin Weatherly, and it was really my fault that he wasn't able to come in and promote his Brea Improv visit.
Yeah.
And that was the whole source of the problem.
Yeah, that was the
Initially.
program director. All right, Drew, so you're recovering, you're, I'd say, almost out of the woods?
I don't know. I mean, each day is like Groundhog Day. I mean, the fact that I can only get out of bed for 10 minutes and then I have to line out is astonishing to me. But I'm noticing I'm irritable. You notice how I jumped at Bryan. That irritability, I don't know where that's coming from. And I guess I'm. Well, there are psychiatric features to this too that I've noticed.
There's only one way to really measure your strength, which is let's see how many push-ups you can do right now. And then,
you know what? I bet my strength would be good. It's not strength; it's stamina. Like after if I did 30 push-ups, I'd have to go to sleep for 2 hours.
All right, but then we'll catch you tomorrow morning, and if you can do 33, we'll know you're heading toward the light.
That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm approaching this. Yes, sir. Hey, man,
Drew,
I'm really not unhappy this happened to me. I want to help people understand not just the caretaker perspective, but the patient perspective. There's a lot to be learned. You know, I have a lot to share that could really help people, and I need to calm down a little bit. I'm sort of irritable today. So,
Drew, to connect the dots and to do a public service, you alluded to a few things, but what should one do if Gina or I suspect that, we may have COVID and feel some symptoms to stay out of the hospital? What would one do?
Stay out of the hospital. Yeah. Good question, Brian. So, first of all, have a relationship with a doctor. If you don't have a relationship with a doctor, get online and find a telemedicine doctor. Do not go to the emergency room. Use telemedicine. Have an evaluation, but understand your treatment should be, if you're in a risk category, meaning you're over 60, you have metabolic syndrome, you should focus on early and aggressive treatment. If the doctor does not cooperate with that, find another doctor. Early and aggressive treatment is antibiotics with the doxycycline or azithromycin, ivermectin, maybe hydroxychloroquine, aspirin, and then when you get into the inflammatory phase, if after the flu, it's a flu at first, if after the flu you start to get the inflammation, same doctor, dexamethasone, have the doctor sign up. Adam, Chris, I'm going to text you a link to the ivermectin website. The doctor just clicks a couple of buttons and an infusion nurse shows up at your house. I'm not ivermectin, the bamlanivimab.
Yeah, we'll put the link up at adamcarolla.com. Again, things it'd be nice to hear coming out of Barbara Ferrer's mouth when she's crying and talking about loved ones who will never see their dog again. All right, Drew, on a happier note, I pulled a Love Boat clip. Every time I say Drew, I say Love Line.
So excited.
They did a big two-parter special last week. And the thing I marvel about Love Boat is they have an A story, a B story, a C story, and sometimes you get to the very end of the episode and you're like, what happened to the guy who was the widower who fell in love with his roommate, but we don't know what the hell's going on, and there's 45 seconds left in the episode. Sometimes they just tie it all up when they're getting off the ship. Like they're literally walking off the ship and they tie up the whole sea story. This was a comedian who passed in 1992, Skip Stevenson, at the ripe, old, rare, early, I should say, age of 52 years of age. This guy was on Real People. I think it was one of those shows where they had like ordinary people and real people and America's funniest people. They'd have all these kind of Friday night variety shows sort of highlighting people and their weird stunts and their weird vocations and things like that. All right, so Skip Stevenson is on the boat, and he's on the boat with his brother's piping hot 23-year-old model fiance.
Sure.
And he's taking a
Sure.
he's taking a cruise, and he's going to donate a kidney to his brother. And once he donates the kidney to the brother, once they get back to port, then the brother is going to go on to marry his super hot fiance. Now, there's a couple interactions with the super hot fiance and the brother who's going to donate the kidney. There's no kissing. There's no sexual tension, not much sexual tension. There's no physicality. Nothing's consummated, and nothing's agreed upon or even discussed. It's just my brother, and he's going to get my kidney, and then you guys can go on to be married. So this is the entire episode, and at the very end, when they're getting off the boat, everyone runs into each other when they're getting off the boat.
Sure.
I don't know how that works.
As one does on a 3,000 passenger
I know.
We ran into each other all the time.
That's right.
Someone is just going home. There's a 2-hour window to get off the boat, and someone's just catching a cab, and the other person always just runs into them in the lobby. And it's always like, well, what if they didn't see him in the lobby? They would just get in the cab, and they would never find love. But she intercepts him when he's getting off the boat and has some good news about the brother needing the kidney, or maybe not. We'll run the clip.
Pete! Good news.
What's that?
A cablegram from Blake. He won't be needing a transplant anymore.
Hey, that's great news. Did you hear that, George? We've been rejected.
You and me both, George.
What?
He's gonna marry his nurse.
Well, you know, I've got the greatest idea I've ever had. As long as you were engaged to part of me, why not just take the whole thing?
You really mean it?
All right, pause it
Yes.
for a second.
You're
All
engaged?
right, for a second.
Wait, what?
What?
She's engaged to the guy's brother 10 minutes ago. Then
He's
she
shacking up with a nurse.
Then she gets the telegram saying, I don't need the kidney. P.S. I've fallen in love with my nurse. I feel like that's a face-to-face conversation.
That's a lot of info.
Hit her with the kidney information, during, I don't know if they charge by the letter when they do those telegrams.
Cablegrams.
Cablegrams. But he then also included in the cablegram that he's fallen in love with his nurse. I was also thinking, remember when nurse used to be a hot person job?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, nurse.
I was like, oh, he fell in love with his nurse. And as Matt the Porcelain Punisher was pointing out earlier, school teacher used to be ugly person job and nurse was good looking person job. Now nurse is unattractive person job and school teacher's hot person job. But either way, Drew, he no longer needs a kidney transplant. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. He needed a new kidney for all these months and years, and now he doesn't need it anymore.
And by
Have
the way,
you ever,
he's bad
Adam,
enough
brought
to have
up
a
to Drew the
continuous
episode
nervous system.
where he diagnoses the guy with ALS in a matter of like an hour? Like,
yeah.
Drew,
Brian,
you
what?
know that-
No, not
it's
an hour.
it's impossible. There's no
In
test for
one
ALS.
second.
It's a long weeding out process.
Believe you me, Brian, it was discussed many times. We discussed it much longer than it took Bricker to diagnose that guy with ALS.
Terminal illness.
Yeah. So we'll roll it back a second, but the brother doesn't need the kidney. He's referring to George or whatever as his kidney, saying my kidney, George, like he named his kidney. So he doesn't need him.
Okay.
So then once she figures out that we don't need the kidney and he's fallen in love with his nurse, now the brother, who she's had very limited contact with, and again, has not so much kissed or hugged yet, he's going to propose that they marry instead. And guess who's over the moon about it? She is. All right,
Well,
sorry.
she's out of options. She's only
she's
a
desperate.
Model-esque.
She's a 25-year-old model. Sorry, play it again, Max Pata.
As long as you were engaged to part of me, why not just take the whole thing?
You really mean it?
Yes. My turn to buy you a ring. As soon as we get off the plane in L.A. Of course, maybe you want to take some time to think about it?
Oh, are you kidding? I already cabled my Uncle George. He'll be waiting for us at the airport with a suitcase full of samples. Well,
All right, her Uncle George is obviously a jeweler.
Yeah.
She gets this cable that says he doesn't need a kidney and I've fallen in love with I don't need a kidney and I've fallen in love with my nurse. And then she says, okay, let me send a cable out to my Uncle George who's going to have engagement rings waiting for us when we get off the plane. at LAX.
If this
Without
was a love line
discussing,
call-
hasn't discussed anything with the guy yet.
Right. If this was a love line call, wouldn't you say, honey, it sounds like you might be in shock.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is not a rational decision.
Trauma.
I love
Yeah,
It's
trauma.
funny. I'm thinking it's more a sign that people need to have more. Back then, needed to have more casual sex. They were so desperate to have sex, they had to get married first.
She throws herself into his arms, starts kissing his face and neck, and is so excited. It's also the way we looked at women back then. Like, of course she's desperate to get married. She's 24 and a half. What are her options?
She better be thrilled.
Right. And also, it would seem like that would merit a discussion. You were engaged to my brother for 2 years. Now you found out you're not. He's in a hospital somewhere with a nurse. Like, perhaps this is just a fever that's come over him. Perhaps we should wait till he gets fluids back in his body before you physically marry the brother.
Yeah.
Or maybe we go out to dinner once. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm a Christian and you're an atheist. Maybe you're a Raiders
talk it over.
fan and I love Denver. You know what I mean? Like we should hash out a couple of thoughts before we
You're
actually
a
get married.
traditionalist.
Yes. I'm uncut. Do you have an aversion to uncircumcised people? Well, we don't know. We should find out.
As long as you name him George.
She dives. And there's always the problem with these stories is they have to take kind of goofy, unassuming guys and put them with supermodels. And then they
Right.
make the supermodel desperate.
Yeah.
This
That's
person
really
is
funny.
like one of the best looking 24-year-old people on the planet. And she's so fucking desperate just to marry anybody, even goofy Skip Stevenson. So there it is. I want to run that one more time. It's 30 seconds. Now we know the backstory.
He was never here
the
nor
whole
there
thing.
about it. He could really could have taken her, leaving her.
Also, he was getting off the boat. Like, she just ran up to him.
That's a
Like,
close call.
yeah. And, they never really account for, what if the guy just rubbed one out in his cabin before he got off the boat and was kind of in his refractory period? Like, sweetie, easy with the hugging. This is Gabardine. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
We'll play it again.
Pete! Good news.
What's that?
A cablegram from Blake. He won't be needing a transplant anymore.
Hey, that's great news. Did you hear that, George? We've been rejected.
You and me both, George. He's gonna marry his nurse.
Well, you know, I've got the greatest idea I've ever had. As long as you were engaged to part of me, why not just take the whole thing?
You really mean it?
You really
Yes.
mean it?
My turn to buy you a ring. As soon as we get off the plane in L.A. Of course, maybe you want to take some time to think about it?
Oh, are you kidding? I already cabled my Uncle George. He'll be waiting for us at the airport with a suitcase full of samples.
I call that a rebound.
Two things. First of all, in the writer's room, out of all of these things, they couldn't come up with another name for the uncle since the kidney was already named George.
Oh, yeah.
Also, did you see her face when she said, looks like my brother's going to marry his nurse? Bit her bottom lip, looked him up and down. She's lying. I think there needs to be a part two. She's a black widow.
Let's
Oh,
wait.
wow.
I have strong feelings
She
about
put him
this after
under?
giving it a second look.
My chauffeur, George, will ferry us straight to the airport, my dear. And our pilot, George, will make haste as we go to LAX. Yeah. I also have to think about the logistics for everything. Like, your uncle's just going to be hanging out with a suitcase full of jewelry at LAX.
Seems
He's
safe.
gonna get arrested.
I know. She's so excited. Also, no follow-up questions. He's been going to give her a kidney like Selena Gomez's friend was for all these months. And then she's like, good news. He doesn't need the kidney anymore. He's like, okay, let's get married. Like, he doesn't go like, what the fuck? He should really get a second opinion, right?
His nurse?
His nurse?
It's his brother.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
It's his brother. Yeah, I feel like his brother should have reached out to him, the guy who was wringing his hands about this kidney surgery the whole time. He should have been the first to know. Anyway, another fantastic episode of Loveline, all wrapped up in 28 seconds. I mean,
Hey, Drew, how often does someone in need of a kidney transplant all of a sudden not need the kidney transplant?
Let me think. Never. Never.
Well, what about if that person's newly in love?
I was telling Adam, I go, is the conceit in the writer's room that being on the Love Boat is so phantasmagoric that magical things just happen? Is it like Fantasy Island when you go on the Love Boat?
Element,
is that what they were thinking? I mean, what were they thinking back then?
Well, I don't want to be a naysayer, Drew, but from watching the Love Boat carefully over the years, it's a two-way street because you can either not need a kidney or you can get full-blown Lou Gehrig's disease right in the middle of the buffet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
It's a real coin toss.
It's a real you are fucking rolling the dice when you get on that boat medically.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Drew. Godspeed to you. Thanks
Go
for
take a nap.
Thanks for the update.
I am. Well, closing my eyes, guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel better.
How fucked up is it that super physically compromised Dr. Drew's like, I may only be able to do 30 push-ups, but I'd fucking be struggling with 13 right now. Fuck 30.
He sounds exactly the same.
I know.
Guys, I don't feel so good. Not Drew.
He thinks he's a mess, but he's not. All right, let me hit Solo Stove. Whether you're camping in the woods or hanging out in the backyard, nothing like a roaring fire. And it's just nice, especially when it's cold out there now. So nothing better than warming those cockles next to your Solo Stove. Solo Stove is fire pits and stoves engineered for adventure. Stainless steel construction designed to regulate airflow, burn more efficiently. So little smoke, you'll wonder how there's so much fire. They gave me one of these babies about a year ago. I use it out in the back. It is so nice, and I would say smuggle one onto the beach these days and thumb your nose at the man. No campfire smell in the clothes or the hair, nothing left to burn but ultra fine ash, easy to clean up. It is portable. It is easy. It is Solo Stove. Right, Dawson?
No one needs a reason to gather around the fire. Solo Stove just took away any reason not to. And now you can get $10 off when you use promo code Adam at checkout. Just go to solostove.com. And remember, you get $10 off when you use promo code Adam.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll do the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad. Trouble in the Middle East. Celebrity drunk meltdowns. Deep news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, since we just had a convo with COVID patient Dr. Drew, let's just knock these out real quick. First of all, Larry King has been hospitalized with COVID-19, but he's been moved out of the ICU. 87 years old. He was in isolation, of course, not permitted to have visitors. A source says the folks at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in LA are giving King odds of 50-50 or better, and that he's improving. He's no stranger to health problems. He had a major heart attack in 87, a cancerous tumor removed in 2017, angioplasty in 2019, a stroke. The unsinkable Molly Brown over here.
Still knocked out 4 shows today, I bet.
That's right. That's exactly right. With bow tie. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, there has been an outbreak in San Jose, California, at a hospital where the culprit, the patient zero, if you will, has been linked to an inflatable Christmas costume that some do-gooder thought they would come in and cheer up the patients with their fan-operated inflatable Christmas tree costume, which blew air all over the place. At least 43 staffers, we have a picture of it, have tested positive between December 27th and New Year's. The hospital since deep cleaned the area, infected, and all infected staff members are isolating at home. Hospital officials believe the fan inside the costume may have been what caused all of this. They add that any exposure would have been accidental. The hospital will no longer allow fan-powered costumes inside. You'd think they would have thought of that, but...
Yeah, so it's like a big inflatable Christmas tree, and the moving of the air is what spread it around.
No.
This is San Jose?
Let that be a lesson. Yeah, San Jose.
Between that and the fucking Stanford tree, man, they're up to no good up there.
I know, because it does look like the Stanford tree.
It does look like the Stanford tree.
How many people
Put
did
it
it say?
side by side.
How many people got it?
43.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So
As much as I like Christmas tree mascots, maybe with all this going on, maybe the hospital, maybe that's not the plan. I saw you can Maxapata. There was a thing as I was traveling through L.A. airport. There was advertisements on those sort of digital advertising scrolling things that are up for this helmet, this fan helmet. Have you guys seen this thing?
no.
Oh, it's
does it blow air away from you?
No, it's literally a space helmet that you put on, and
It's a diving bell?
It's essentially a diving bell. It's a helmet that you put on. It's got a clear round bubble glass, sort of like the Apollo mission guys would wear. It looks much like one of those 60s, 70s space helmet or today's space helmet. And they were advertising that you put this thing on and walk around. It's got 2 fans in it, and I can't remember what it was called. I would never wear that helmet for one simple reason. I know either Jimmy or Cousin Sal would figure out a way to fart into it.
Yeah.
That much
probably.
I know. But yes, they were advertising at LAX. Kind of interesting. It's an interesting place to advertise because if you are passing through LAX, you've probably signed off on what would be called high-risk behavior already. Like you're there because you want to go to Vegas and gamble. Thus, you're probably not too freaked out by COVID because you're choosing to get on a Southwest flight. A certain percentage of people are going to see their Nana in Chicago, but most people that are traveling around the holidays are kind of like, I'll throw a little bit of caution to the wind. I want to get out. Yes.
Counterpoint, how many people are traveling in and around the holidays are, or just traveling these days, are doing it because they have to? As opposed to choose to.
I guess you'd have to really, like Bill Clinton did many years ago, we have to break down the definition of have to. Because go...
Depends on what have is.
Like I have an elderly parent in Michigan, but do you have to see them for Christmas kind of thing? I don't know. Maybe that falls under that...
Yeah, to you, that's have to.
Maybe that falls under that heading. I still will tell you that the baggage carousel at LAX had 400 people around it with 0 social distancing because you can't tell people spread out around a baggage carousel. Everyone is jockeying for position to get up and in that thing to hop in their Uber as fast as humanly possible. So not only do the airlines have full flights now, and we looked into it, I think Southwest since December 7th, I think.
Got a lot of tweets today.
Yeah.
About, it's regulated by the Fed, so LA can't do anything about flights coming into LAX.
So they're 100% full. Yes.
And somebody emailed me and said that to answer your question, Brian, since Vegas isn't locked down, since that's the place the flight originated from, they don't have to follow those rules.
Right. So it is 100% full flights on Southwest and 1,000% humanity around the baggage carousel when everyone gets off of that thing. I mean, you can talk about spreading out in a venue like a sports venue. You can talk about spreading out at a restaurant or a salon. The average space between the human around the baggage carousel is 4.5 inches shoulder to shoulder, if not touching, and then everyone's 8 people deep. Like when 5 flights all come in at the same time and it's all on. And when the flight is full, they make you check bags and they throw them down to the carousel. They're not doing the gate check. But what is that helmet called, Maxapata?
I think you're thinking it's called the microclimate air.
It looks like a sperm head.
This thing was black.
Yeah, there's black ones too.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so it has a HEPA filter in and out. My. And
there it is.
Yeah, and it's just you're sealed up.
But are you?
Well, yeah, it looks loose at the bottom like a neck gaiter. But question, how bad does a contagious disease have to get for you to sign off on looking like a dipshit?
Yeah, that's
a tough look to pull off.
That's Jude Law in Contagion.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
It's also, if you're a seagull or any kind of bird, this is your number one target. Like this dude walking outside, if you could shit on that windshield, you'd be the king of all the seagulls. Like freshly washed Mercedes is a 7.5, but shitting on a douchebag's face shield, that would be awesome. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Remember after 9/11, they were selling like parachutes to people who lived in buildings that were higher than 11 stories, and like rope ladders that went 10 stories. Like there was this whole market of paranoid people. It's like, I need to do this because this shit happened. I feel like that's the same crowd.
So these things can operate for over 5 hours. They're battery powered.
They don't run off a super long extension cord from your apartment.
No, and the sound inside the helmet is somewhat muffled. They're working on that issue. Speech is it does remain audible for those inside and outside the bubble. But you still can't eat or drink anything with it yet. They are working on a small straw port.
Really defeats the purpose.
Yeah, then the whole thing is useless.
Yeah, there it is. It's called Air. And how much these things retail for? I'd kind of like to know.
$200.
Let me check. Yeah, I'm seeing $270 on a site.
Yeah, all right. That's under $300. You know, for the price of a good steak dinner, you could get yourself a bucket to put on your head and walk around.
Yeah, it's $300 on their site.
All right. Now, would you wear it? Well, you'd wear it at the airport, I guess. You'd probably wear it
on the plane.
Wear it to Thanksgiving. Probably be tough driving because there'd be a peripheral problem. You wouldn't be able to parallel park. All right, well there you go. It's called Air, and I saw it at LAX. What I do want to revisit my lemon and lime controversy. Speaking of,
they always give you a lime.
Getting a drink at LAX. Yeah, I got the vodka, soda water, and lemon. But I also realize that I'm going to have to say, I can no longer say lemon. I have to say Z lemon, or I have to put something in front of it so the person stops and goes, what? Like, what are you talking about? Because not only did I get the lime instead of the lemon, when I said to the guy, what's up with the lemons? He said, oh, yeah, we're out of limes. And I said, no, there's a lime in my drink. And he went, oh, then we're out of lemons. And I realized, if you're 46 and you're working as a bartender at Pub and Brew and Rock over there at the Southwest Terminal, LAX at 11 o'clock, you're the dumbest guy everyone went to high school with, right? And the fact that lemon and lime start with the same letter is way too, that's a bridge too far for your brain.
Yeah.
It's
you
too much.
You lock it off at le.
Le.
You
That's
know,
all we got.
I love the unnecessary whatever Z or whatever. I think about doing yellow lemon, or I'll have a green lime, because
that's interesting. Yeah,
you know what I mean, because now it's in their mind, like what? But the color and the word are in their mind. You know?
That's interesting. I was trying to think of the only kind of lemon that anyone's ever heard of, and along the same lines, I was just going to say I'll have a Meyer lemon. Because that's the name of a lemon that
I'm
going to
go with the color. I'm going to go full Dr. Seuss Sesame Street.
But you're going to sound insane.
Fool some of these bartenders. With the yellow sun and the blue sky.
One fish, two fish.
How much green money does this take?
Yes. All right. Are you guys with me? Speaking of money, and everyone's just doing the thing now where you plug the card into the thing. There's now so many different credit card readers, I don't know where to begin. I find myself like holding the card, and the guy just placed the card onto the screen, and I'm stabbing it. Like, where's the vagina? Where I got to slip? No, don't swipe it. Put the thing in.
Insert.
Yeah, or now just like lay it down on this thing. But I have this weird thing that even if there's a little illustration of the magnetic strip and what side it's supposed to be on, I always go full backwards on it. I invert it. I screw it up. I go dyslexia on it. Like I have the strip going the wrong way, and then at some point the guy super condescendingly has to grab it out of your hand and then reach through the plexiglass and do the thing that 9-year-old could do for you.
I think actually swiping these days is considered old school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Just
tap
insert or tap.
or you do the Apple Pay, just the 2 clicks on the phone, just hold it near. That's the contactless payment.
Well, either way, for my entire life, the only credit card thing was that big, weird Brannick device machine
Yep.
where they pulled
The ka-chunk.
the thing over and dragged it over the top of it. That was it. And the Corollas didn't have credit cards. I didn't have to deal with that shit.
So do we just burn our money now?
I guess, especially with all the COVID and disease and handling, and no one wants to touch anything. So I think that's it. I think change is, bygone era, and cash is almost a bygone era. And I'm telling you, the more we get into our phones and the more we get into all this debit and instant this and automatic deposits, and the more we lose our relationship with money and the more in debt everyone's going to be. I mean, look no further than school loans and or the credit card we always talk about on the campus at 21%. Like it's all invisible. Everyone's 18 and a half and they go, fuck it, sign me up. And that's where we're at nationwide now. All right, what else, Gina?
YouTube star Logan Paul is set to face Floyd Mayweather Jr. in a boxing match that is supposed to go down February 20th of this year. Logan Paul has been training for about 3 years, but neither Mike Tyson nor Logan's brother Jake thinks this is a good idea and that he has a chance in hell of winning. So I have a couple clips for you. In the first clip, a TMZ reporter asked Jake how he thinks Logan will do against Mayweather.
Manny Pacquiao is one of the greatest strikers, fastest hands out there in history. One of those guys, like the few guys. And I wonder, if he couldn't touch Floyd in 12 rounds, how's your brother gonna get a hold of him?
No, exactly. I agree. My brother's fucked. It's bad for the sport. I think it's just for clout. My brother's a fake fighter. I'm the real.
So this is just to kind of reset here. Logan Paul set to face off against Floyd Mayweather in February. Mike Tyson goes on Logan Paul's show to assess the situation, and this is what they have to say about it.
Someone told me this. They say he does not. He doesn't have a vice. Yeah. He doesn't have a vice.
No, he does. The gym.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? So you don't think there's an opportunity to land one big shot or a couple big shots?
He might let you hit him a couple of times to make the show look good.
Oh my God! You're saying it'll all be an charity? How much is it? What am I? A charity case for Floyd Mayweather?
No, you're not charity. You're challenging him. You're a man. You're not fucking charity. That's right. There's always a danger when two men go in the ring. Anything can happen.
Boom. That's all I need to hear.
That's all he's gonna clip. Everything else gets deleted.
I'm gonna cut the first thing you said. Not gonna make the podcast,
dude.
Not gonna make the podcast. That's
watching him in the ring with you. He's probably gonna be like the third round, and he's like, "Fool, you thought this was my final form?" And then just just Super Saiyan 7, and he's like, it just knocks you out completely.
Well, he is. He's probably gonna enter the ring 40 pounds heavier than Floyd Mayweather, and he's gonna have a pretty substantial size, like height and size. Not that that's the end all be all. The tough part is Mayweather, so there's other skilled guys, guys like Manny Pacquiao, a lot of Mexican fighters, guys like that. They're seasoned and they're skilled, but they get hit. And then so one could make the argument, though, well, what if you did get hit by a 200-pound guy versus a 147-pound guy? Might that make a difference, even if the 200-pound guy was sort of an amateur?
Right.
The Floyd is 5'8", and Logan is 6'2". That's pretty snap. But the whole thing is Floyd's claim to fame is never getting hit. And so that's where the rub comes here. If he was fighting some guy like Pacquiao or even like a Roberto Duran type or something, those guys do get hit. And so maybe you'd have what they call a puncher's chance. But Floyd is so goddamn slick. that seems to be the problem. But, you have to understand it. Floyd is 43. 40, every 43. Oh, good guess. Got to send him out a bottle of $2 Chuck, by the way. His birthday just passed. You do start slowing down. You do slow down as every day every day that, it's sort of like this up the hill and down the hill, from 15 to 30, you're kind of going up the hill. And then at some point you crest the hill. And every month or year that goes by, you slow down a little bit. Some people work out harder and some people have better genes and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, Paul's skills are going up and Mayweather's declining. Now at some point, so if they caught each other 6 years from now, maybe there would be something. Maybe if one of them was 49 or 50 and the other was 27, maybe something. But at this point, probably not. But it'd still be a spectacle, and you'd be a fool to say it's not going to be entertaining because so many of these fights turn out to be entertaining.
That's exactly what it is. And is this a new life? Is this a second career life for Floyd Mayweather doing these sort of odd circus exhibition fights?
His second life is gambling.
Well, Floyd loves money. Well, his middle name is Money, so he loves money. My middle name's Danger, so we have a different thing going on. But Floyd was probably getting big paydays fighting the Pacquiaos and the Barreras and these guys of his era and his world and his legitimate fights. But his paydays were probably smaller than his sideshow fights with like Conor McGregor or a kangaroo in Brunei or something like that. So he's figured out, well, if you're Floyd Mayweather, instead of getting hit by guys who are professionals and getting $50 million a fight, how about making $200 million a fight fighting guys that can't really hit you? So
Sold. Where do I sign?
He's doing a kind of a math there that
I
think all of us would do, right?
It's a business decision.
I mean, what did he get allegedly for the McGregor fight? Who's obviously trained, but he's trained in a different discipline. What did he get for the McGregor fight versus like his last Pacquiao fight or something like that? I guarantee he's making more on the freak show shit. So normally there's that thing where it's like, oh, you were an actress and you're making $5 million a film, and now you've been offered $5,000 to do a porno or something, and you have to kind of
Hallmark movie.
Yeah, Hallmark movie.
Same thing.
Yeah. Can I do a porno? Okay, fine. But this is kind of different. This is your famous actor who's making $10 million a film, and now we're going to offer you $50 million a film to do a Hallmark film.
Right.
Done.
Like, sign me up.
Happily.
Floyd got $280 million for the McGregor fight.
Wow.
And he probably didn't make over $100 for the Pacquiao fight, which was some years earlier, but not that much earlier. So he's making more in his sort of sunset years in his retirement than he did when he was doing it legitimately.
That was a satisfying answer.
Speaking of sunset years, are we going to let this clip go by without mentioning that Tyson does not sound well? He's always had a lisp, but he sounds impaired.
That's why I mentioned it, because I don't know if there's something physical, psychological, but it's very hard to understand him.
Floyd's real middle name is Joy. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, not bad.
I'm only basing this on doing a podcast with Tyson, or doing a couple podcasts, but going and doing his podcast once. He tends to like to eat while the mics are hot. So he'll like start opening a trail mix bar like right as the show is starting, and then
he might have some almond butter in his teeth.
It's good pod.
I don't know. We got to hear it again, but he was eating when I did my pod with him, so I feel like he was chewing on something.
Interesting. There's no that's possible, of course. There's no evidence in the video of him, taking a bite of something, but the man does not sound well. He sounds like Gina pointed out when we were chatting off the air, like a deaf person would sound.
He sounds a little hard of hearing.
Well, he sounded good, 3 weeks ago when he was promoting his fight. So I don't think he's declined that much in 3 weeks. I think maybe he was doing. Also, he's probably high as fuck, and like Tyson doesn't care that much, and nobody ever coaches him up. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Like nobody ever, except for Customados.
There's no media relations specialist.
No
here.
one goes, hey, Mike, put down the fucking trail mix bar. The fucking mics are hot. Let's get it together, bro. Like no one ever tells him what to do. So
Who'd like to be that person?
not I. Yeah, we'll see. We'll run the clip again. Now think in terms of him chewing on something, and let's see if it sounds that way or not.
Someone told me this. They say he does not. He doesn't have a vice.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a vice.
No, he does. The gym.
The gym.
Gym.
What are you gonna
That
do?
guy's not
So you don't think there's opportunity to land one big shot or a couple big shots?
He might let you hit him a couple times to make the show look good.
Oh my God.
You said it'll all be an
Charity
act. How much is it? What am I? A charity case for Floyd Mayweather?
No, you're not charity. You're challenging them. You're a man. You're not fucking charity. There's always a danger when two men go in the ring. Anything can happen.
Boom. That's all I need to hear.
That's all he's gonna clip. Everything else gets
He was
deleted.
kind of flapping. He was kind of chomping, but he was also tongue. I can't tell.
I have a
Does
theory.
he have chew in his mouth?
It seemed like something was in his mouth, but yes.
Sounded like he could have been messing around with some dentures and they were falling out. Does anyone know if he still has his regular teeth?
That's a very good point.
Interesting.
Never heard of it. Not a bad thought. All right, let me hit Geico here. Do you rent your home? Well, you do one or the other, I'm sure. You want to do a little bundling then. Go with Geico. Makes it easy to bundle your homeowners and renters insurance along with your auto policy. So you just go to geico.com. You get a quote. See just how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Go to geico.com. Take the renters, take the homeowners, take that insurance, bundle it with your automotive insurance. It's all under one roof, and you save a bunch of money when you bundle with Geico. All right, let's do one more, Gina Grad.
All right. Well, you guys, I know more than anybody, could probably use a little more Nicolas Cage in your life right now.
Yes.
Please.
And I mean, whether you care or not what it is might determine how interested you'll be. But he is hosting a new Netflix show, and it's called The History of Swear Words. It takes a deeper look into some of our most colorful language. He'll be joined by experts on history and language. He'll also be joined by Sarah Silverman, Nikki Glazer, film critic Elvis Mitchell, many, many more. Because, you know, trailers don't always give you a good idea of the actual show. Here's just a clip from the show that focuses on a very specific word.
It seems to me that bitch isn't a word. It's a moment, an experience. Other swear words like shit, fuck, damn are reactionary and universal. But bitch can be used like a weapon, and it's personal.
So
I love it.
He's doing what Floyd Mayweather's doing.
Yes.
He's fucking getting paid now that
That's
the career, not the legit career's in the rearview mirror. He's seeing some paydays.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I
have
would
to
check
do a
the show out.
direct-to-video movie in Europe. He can just do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Now, quick 15 seconds for Simply Safe. Everyone wants to keep their home safe, so how about you get Simply Safe? 2 eyes in there. Award-winning 24/7 protection. No long-term contracts, no hidden fees, no cost. You get a free home security camera. Just sign it up at simplysafe.com/Adam. All right, we'll do our stereo Q&As in the next segment. We'll bid adieu to Gina and Bald, and we'll take a quick break. Be right back with your live questions right after this.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, man. Here we are in the stereo app. Once again, coming to you live, taking your live, unfiltered questions. Producer Max Pata's in the next space. He's going to be firing those babies off. What are you thinking about, Chris?
Well, first off, Happy New Year. I appreciate the State of the Union on yesterday's show, but typically you also give a New Year's resolution. Some of your most famous ones in the past: dress for success, demand more from your deodorant, stuff like that. Do you have anything you're thinking about for this year?
I forgot about demanding more from my deodorant. I feel like... And I followed through with that one. I did not dress for success, but I did. I bought a bunch of clip-on ties, but I never followed through with that one. Yeah, I decided to demand more for my deodorant because every time I saw a commercial, there was some good-looking dude with an athletic build, and he was just leaving the gym, and he was heading to a big board meeting, and there's a bunch of hot chicks, and he was going to be pointing at stuff with his jacket off. in his dress shirt. And that guy demanded more from his deodorant. And then later on, that guy was going to take the subway back to his apartment with the brick veneer and the Harley parked in front of it, inside with the 18-foot ceilings and a heavy bag next to the Harley. And that dude would then be holding the top of the railing. He'd be standing in the subway and holding the railing, and a super hot chick would slide up right underneath his armpit. But he was confident because he demanded more from his deodorant. And every time I rode the subway, I put my hand up on that grab bar and some 26-year-old model would sidle up to me and I'd be pitting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
it was so embarrassing because I was like, I just go to Trader Joe's and get whatever the fuck they got on sale. But I wasn't demanding more from my deodorant. And also, these guys' lifestyles, they're in the gym, they're playing squash, they're in the boardroom, they're taking mass transit. Later on that night, they got the hot chick over to their bachelor apartment. And again, jackets always slung over their shoulder, dress shirt, light blue, one of those colors you can really pit out with. Nothing dries a bone. So I was like, these guys are all demanding. Well, first thing they were demanding a lot from themselves. You know what I mean? On the court, off the court, in the courtroom, in the boardroom. These guys were demanding a lot from themselves. And they started making equal demands on their deodorant. And I realized I was radio silent when it came to my deodorant. I was just like, I'll put it on in the morning. I'll leave the house. And if a spokesmodel pulls up next to me when I'm at the boardroom pointing at shit, and I'm pitting out, I got nothing to say. So I did start demanding more from my deodorant. And maybe this year I'll demand more from the talc I dump down my shorts before I leave the house. I'm not sure if I should demand more from my talc. And I also feel like the talc's doing a pretty good job. So I don't know if I would even be within my rights. I would say for me, I'm doing the cold water plunge every morning. That's good. I would say I got to spend more time on the rowing machine. But the problem is my rowing machine has a bad wheel, has a flat spot in it. And every time I go up and back, it's like click, 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 clunk, 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 click, click, clunk, clunk, clunk.
Oh, yeah.
And I replaced it once, and then I got a new one, and not the rowing machine, but the whole wheel seat assembly. And the new one has chunked out and flat spotted too. So now I don't know. I'm gonna do a trifecta this year. While I'm on the rowing machine, I'm gonna demand more from my deodorant. I'm gonna demand more from my talc, and I'm gonna demand that I hit that rowing machine harder every year. Exercise. That'll be it for me. I used to exercise quite diligently, and then at some point I got older and I turned into a puss, and I got kind of soft about it, and no more. I'm going to demand more from my rowing machine. All right. Do we have questions that you can reach us here, by the way, live on stereo, if you like? Yes.
We do. And also, you were saying that you weren't sure if you should demand more from your talc, but if you're exercising more, you're going to have to demand more. So it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. All right. Then that's it. I will demand more from my deodorant, my talc, and myself.
Love it. All right. Here's a question.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'm from Alabama. Just saying, I've never heard you talk much about college football. You have about pro football. I just considered see how you felt about college football. All right, man. Roll Tide. Thanks.
I like college football. I do. I enjoy the pageantry. I enjoy the whole. I enjoy the fact that some of these places put 100,000 people in the stadium, or they used to pre-COVID. Versus the pros, they're putting 65,000 people, 70,000 people in there. But I love that. The mascots are much better when they run with that big longhorn bull out there, or the bison. They got the big buffalo running out there, or even the eagle or the hawk or something like that. I mean, it's okay in the pro football world, But the college football world has much better mascots. Also, I was thinking about this. When, the pro football players are going out in the field and, they have those big smoke canisters that go off, just poof, poof, and just shooting all that smoke and fog into the air.
Yeah.
And then I was watching a commercial for a local car dealership in Vegas, and they were showing them misting the inside of the car with the alcohol mist because they were disinfecting everything. Why don't they take those fucking smoke canisters that they fire off before the Ravens take the field and fill that with the alcohol mister shit and just blow up the whole stadium with it? That'd be if you were in a dome stadium and those big things, instead of shooting the noxious gas into the air and everyone's getting black lung, you could be blowing off the disinfectant. You could load those things up with Lysol or some version of that and just blow those things up before the guys took the field. It'd be safe. It'd be visual compelling. And I think people would have a better afternoon. And if a little of it settled into your Budweiser, so be it.
Yeah. It can only help.
It can only help.
Right,
I also should mention, I should mention I never knew the names of any of the teams, and I'd always do this spell correct thing in my head. So as a kid, I was aware of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but I'm from North Hollywood, so I didn't know what a Husker was, so I called them Corn Hustlers. And I was aware of Penn State, the Nittany Mountain Range, the Nittany Lions, but I always just called them the Nifty Lions because I didn't know what a Nittany or a Husker was. And I'm trying to think. The Crimson. I think I called the Crimson Tide, your own Alabama, the Crimson Tide. I think I called it the Crims and Tide. So I didn't know what that was. And as long as I'm confessing, when I used to see commercials when I was a kid for the law firm of Jacoby and Myers, I thought they were saying Jacoby and Myers, as if a Meyer was like an ethnicity or Jacobian. Like these are Jacobian Myers, which to me meant some sort of old English barrister or something, like from the law firm of the Jacobian Myers. Like, oh, this guy's a Jacobian Meyer. He must have knowledge. I didn't know it was two dudes named Jacoby and Myers.
Yeah, just a little bit more advanced than the Egyptian Myers.
That's right. The Jacobians. They knew the law better than any civilization that came before them. They actually were the first to come out with tort reform. I don't know that people knew the Jacobians. The Jacobians back in 1582, they invented the powdered wig. They were barristers. They were the first to don the judicial robe, and the Jacobians knew you could take a 14-year-old Jacobian from 1582, and they would pass today's bar with no preparation. Hand to God. Look it up. So nobody knew the law like the Jacobian Myers.
We need to give them more credit then.
Yes.
Thank you for putting that out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick a college team, though, because, I mean, you really don't have any stakes in this at all. So what would your college team be?
Well, I had one growing up because I played for the East Valley Trojans, and our uniforms were exactly the same as the USC Trojans. So when you're a kid, you start playing at 7. I was at the East Valley Trojans for 5 years. And when you're playing for the East Valley Trojans and your uniform's the same as USC Trojans, then you become a USC fan. So I was a USC fan growing up. And then later on, I became a Sun Valley Falcon. But our Falcon uniforms didn't look like the Atlanta Falcon uniforms at all. So for some reason, I then dropped off and never became a Falcons fan. But I was a USC fan just because of my East Valley Trojan connection.
That makes sense. All right, here's another question.
Adam, Chris, get it on. Want to hear Chris cover some of those songs Adam's been pitching to him, some of those songs that you discussed on the show. So want to know when we'll hear Chris live in studio covering some of Ace Man's suggestions. Get it on.
Yeah, how about a little bread medley? How about a little bread sampler?
That's not going to be as finger popping as you like, but I'm game.
Yeah. What are some of the songs you've heard me mention over the years that you think would be in your range?
I have covered a few of the songs that you've mentioned, like on the cruise and the various Carolla events where you let us play very graciously. We've done the Jags.
I got your number written on the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that song.
Which is not a common song. Like it's actually not. I don't think it's even on Spotify. It's so it's that one was really fun. It's really upbeat. We've done your Smokey Robinson song, "Tears of a Clown."
Such a good song.
We've done what is it? "Cruel to Be Kind."
Yeah, man. Nick Lowe. Great song.
That one's fun.
Nick Lowe. Maybe written by, I'm looking at Dawson. I don't think it was Elvis Costello. That was Girls Talk. Was that a Nick Lowe song that was written by Dave Edmonds? I don't know. Dawson can look it up on his computer. I feel like there's some Dave Edmonds connection there, or maybe it's just Girls Talk, which is another good song you should cover, which I think is an Elvis Costello song that was covered by Dave Edmonds. Yes, he's nodding. Was "Cruel to Be Kind" written by Dave Edmonds? No. He's running to his computer. All right, so we got those. What we got to get some.
Written by Nick Lowe.
Written by Nick Lowe.
And co-written by one of his bandmates.
Oh, okay. So that's all Nick Lowe. Yeah. Good song there. Boston would always be good.
He played that on this very podcast.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, all right. Let's cover a Boston song next time.
I do. I am always fascinated by your love for Boston. I mean, not that I should be surprised by. I mean, they're such a great band, but I love the story of them being kind of responsible for you being a broadcaster.
Yeah, Peace of Mind. Back when they used to play those FM radio shows, where they would do the rock line or whatever it is, and the host would talk about the song and then play the song. And the story goes, I'll sort of paraphrase, but he was talking about peace of mind. And if you listen to that Boston hit, you can hear him talking about climbing the corporate ladder, but that's not really what he wanted to do. But everyone told him he had a good job. And he's like, but I want to rock and roll. And I was in my garage in North Hollywood one Sunday night with the radio on, listening to one of those rock compilations, Sunday night KLOS shows, and they were discussing that story of Peace of Mind and the Boston song. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm a carpenter now, and I don't want to be a carpenter. I got to follow my dreams, man. I want to be a comedian. And I was listening to the words that they were saying and how the lead singer dropped out of his job. I think he had a job at IBM or something. He had a good job. The only thing that made it a lot easier for me than these guys is they're always talking about having a good job and having to turn their back on their good career and go toward music or art or comedy or whatever. But I never had a good job. So it was a lot easier for me to turn my back on my shitty, I was getting $12 an hour, moving drywall. So it was a little easier for me to walk away from my gig.
Yeah. Must have been nice for those guys.
Well, we're glad that Boston walked away from their computer job and got into their rock and roll job.
Love those harmonizing guitars. All right, here's another question.
So good. Yep.
Ace Man, once again, Ivan from TJ. It is an honor, nay, a privilege, nay, a pleasure to be speaking with you, sir. I have a question for both you and Chris. First, to you, Ace Man. I love whenever you do Unprepared. I think it speaks volumes of your comedic genius. But I'm curious to know if you've ever been heckled by some asshole in the crowd, and if so, how do you manage that? And to Chris, who is more beloved in the Filipino community? Is it Manny Pacquiao or Joe Coy, or are they on equal ground? Get it on. Love your show, and I'll continue listening.
Thank you, Ivan from Tijuana.
Yeah, thank you.
Chris has been there for just about every Unprepared show, or maybe every Unprepared show. I rarely get heckled, I must say. Sometimes people are drunk and they shout stuff out and they step on stuff or they get whatever, and I fuck around with them. But it's never been an issue. I don't know. Maybe they are heckling and I don't notice it. I've never had a run-in or an issue, but maybe it's the way I address it. I seem to roll with it pretty well, try to make it into some content. Usually once the drunken person starts getting humiliated a little bit, they kind of zip it. We did have that situation where we did a live podcast in Ventura all those years ago where that woman needed to be dragged out of the actual venue, like physically pulled out of the venue and dragged out into the street kind of thing. But to the best of my memory, that's the only time that we've really had to kind of stop a show and deal with somebody. Another time at Cobb's in San Francisco, I think had to kind of deal with that too. But
right.
By and large, not so much.
Yeah, your audience is actually very respectful. And a lot of the comedians who open for you who don't really know what to expect because they've never seen you live, they always come back to me and just go, that was one of the best audiences I've ever had. Because they're just so into comedy and they listen to you. And if you do have a drunk listener who kind of just talks over your steps on things, you're really great at powering through it and sometimes not even acknowledging it, and you just blow right past it, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm a multitasker. Or I can compartmentalize. Joe Coy and who was it? Pacquiao.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. They are very close. Manny is still in the lead slightly, only because when Manny Pacquiao came into this very studio, I took a picture with him, and that's when my mom realized that I'm doing okay in life. When I sent her that photo, she was able to send that to our family, everybody around. And if I did with Joe Coy now, it would have the same effect. But Manny was first, and I think even Joe would say that Manny is just a little bit ahead.
We're live on stereo. If you want to join in the conversation, you may. What else you got, Max Pata?
Here we go.
Hey, Adam. Remember the Chick-Fil-A incident with Jay Leno? I just wanted to say, that was all your fault. The moment you decided that your crew deserved better sandwiches than Jay Leno's, that's when the order got messed up. You should have just said, I need 15 chicken sandwiches. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't decide my crew needed better sandwiches than Jay Leno. Did I? No.
No, not at all. Yeah, he has it all wrong. So what happened was I think the only person who actually didn't even order a sandwich was Matt DeAndre. He ordered grilled nuggets, but everyone else got sandwiches. It was an easy order, just a weird mix-up in communication that led to, I think, your most embarrassing moment, because you called me that night horrified, and I've never seen you like that. I've never heard you like that. And I was a little worried about you.
I'll never forget. We pulled into Leno's shop. He has a kitchen in one of his shops, and I dropped the bags off, and everyone just started pulling sandwiches out of the bag and started eating them. And at some point, I looked up, and Jay was just looking into the bag with a sort of forlorn look on his face. And I was like, what's he just staring in the bag for? Everyone else is just eating their sandwich. And he's like, no more sandwiches? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Yeah, we got sandwiches for you. Like that, they're in the bag. And he's like, there's nothing in the bag. I'm like, what? Yeah. Then I realized as I was pulling the sandwich away from my face and it had that bridge of spittle going to it, I was like, you can have a bite of this one, Jay, if you like the ones with extra mayo. And then I realized, I think that was Gabe. Gabe blamed the weather. I think part of his thing was it was raining outside. So, you know what it's like when you phone in a sandwich order and it's drizzling. That's
almost impossible.
Almost impossible to get through. I don't know. It's the cloud cover or something that obscures the cell phone. I don't work for AT&T. Then later on, we did have the jumbo size of nuggets, which he ordered, which he claimed he thought were for Jay, except for I don't know why he thought Jay ordered those nuggets.
Those are backup nuggets.
Those were backup nuggets, and I think the problem is Matt Fondelier was communicating with Jay, and I said something like, ask Jay and his crew what they want and forward that along to Gabe, and Gabe never got that forwarded along to him, so he just ordered what we ordered. And as I've said to almost everyone all the time when I run into this shit, I have it happen twice a week where someone is like, shows up to my house or shows up whatever, and then they go, oh, I didn't know if you were going to be here, or I didn't know where you wanted me to go. And I'm always like, I don't blame you for that part. I blame you for the part where you stop, where you need to stop and go. I just ordered sandwiches at Chick-Fil-A for you guys. Does Jay and his crew want anything? If you'd asked that, then I would go, you didn't order anything for Jay? Hold the phone. And then we would fix it. It's the part where you say nothing. I think that's, I don't mind the mix up and I don't mind the dropping of the ball. I blame the part where you don't stop and go, there's 4 of you and I just ordered 4 sandwiches. Or actually, there's 4 of you and I ordered 3 sandwiches. What's Mr. Leno planning on eating?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I agree with you.
Yes.
All right, here's another question.
Gabe's also the one that left the trunk open when we were going on the cruise last year, and Mike's bag fell out of the back of the trunk. The car was backed up to the front door. Backed up to the front door.
Like 2 nights before that, so.
Oh, it was raining before that. Yeah, and he walked out and walked into the car, got behind the driver's seat, and took off with the trunk wide open, and poor Mike and his bag flew out. All right, sorry.
Game over. All right, here we go.
Maybe he was too tired from cleaning his office to actually shut that trunk lid. That could have been it.
Could have been it too. It was late or early. All right, here we go.
Hey, Adam. I just was listening this morning, and you guys were talking about the strip clubs in Vegas. Want to just relay a quick story. My friend down in Mexico said that they went out to the strip club during COVID, and the stripper was wearing a mask, like a face shield, and then proceeded to stick her butt in my friend's face, and we all were laughing about that. So anyway, I thought you might find that hilarious.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that going on. I don't mean in strip clubs, but there's a lot of, fly Southwest. I wear glasses oftentimes, and I cannot figure out how to wear that mask without fogging up my glasses. I do it every time. So I tend to slide the thing down and hang my nose out and then wear my glasses, and I don't fog them up. But if you fly on an airline, they now come around every 10 seconds, like, pull that mask up, pull that mask up.
Yeah.
Then 10 seconds later, they hand you some pretzels and everyone's mask comes down. So I don't think it's a science on an airplane. And if it ain't a science on a commercial flight, it sure as fuck ain't a science at the Unicorn Bar on Revolution Street in Tijuana, which I always love when I think Ed Calderon's coming in later this week. I love talking to him about what went on Revolution Street in Tijuana back in the day, because those are some of my favorite high school road trip stories, is going to TJ, which is utterly lawless. I mean, at least back then, for sure was lawless. And if you were 16 and you wanted to drink at a strip club, you could definitely go to Tijuana and get that done. Problem is the drinks at the strip club were like $3, so we'd always smuggle in a bottle of rum, order a Coke, and like freshen it up ourselves from underneath the table. Yeah, I went there with an old girlfriend once. I mean, I've been to TJ quite a few times back in the day. Lots of good drunken TJ stories. I got to be one of the few people who slept on a beach in Tijuana. The Tijuana beach. Not going down the coast of Baja, Rosarita, Ensenada. I'm talking Tijuana Beach. Like, done with the strip club, and not even with a sleeping bag. Just a blanket from my bed to the beach in Tijuana. I realized...
You took that blanket back to your bed?
Oh, fuck yeah. I only had one blanket. It was my blanket. Either it was on my bed, or if we went camping, it went with me too. I've been camping with that blanket and fucking froze up on Mount Pinos, like on a few nights for sure. Also, I probably would have been stabbed or shot by a local, but they must have thought I was an undercover cop, right? Like, who'd be crazy enough to just fucking sleep on a beach in Tijuana with a blanket? Just walk out onto the sand. And just fucking pass out on the beach. Woke up with the dogs that walk sideways going around me. The sideways walking Tijuana beach dogs. Like, I woke up like, I also tried to go to Tijuana once and just slept by the side of the freeway. I mean, we got a tire blowout in like San Juan Capistrano. We had no spare. Just fucking parked the car on the side of the freeway and walked. Just walked down to find a patch of grass and like slept under a sign. Yeah, I used to sleep in pretty random places. Also, the time I took my sister's Dodge Dart down to Tijuana and blew it up and junked it somewhere around San Diego. Came home with $40. How'd you like if someone borrowed your car and came back with $40?
That's the worst case scenario. I can't believe you did that.
Yep. Yeah, we used to go on Tijuana runs all the time. And the thing is, we never had any money. We'd all have like $20 and go to Tijuana, and then and I'd have my blanket. Also, later when I worked construction, we started going on construction guy runs, but that wasn't Tijuana. That was Baja. We'd get trucks and surfboards and motorcycles and go all the way down the Baja coast. That was more just camping on the beach, but at least it was more Baja, which is, I mean, I know Tijuana's in Baja or whatever, but further you can get away from Tijuana before you go to bed outside, probably the better.
I agree. All right. Let's get into that question.
Hey, Adam, I have a question for you. I got rich last year, and I was wondering if you had any advice. I bought a McLaren, but that's really the only crazy thing that I've done.
Well, I don't know which McLaren he got, but any McLaren's expensive. First things first, no matter how rich I was, if I bought a McLaren, I'd buy one that was 2 years old. Like, they come down. Most all those big high dollar supercars, with the exception of some really small batch like Porsches and very limited edition stuff, they all kind of drop off in value after, a couple of years. So no matter how rich you are, go get something that's 2 years old. Also, I would say experiences now. I mean, we're living in a time now where everyone's got a big fat TV and everyone's got a smartphone and everyone's kind of on the same level. Like the ultimate sort of playing field leveler is the smartphone. I see homeless guys with smartphones. Like, if you have that thing in your palm that has all the information on the planet in your palm, you're never going to be poor in a certain sense. Like, the chasm between you and Mark Zuckerberg is not so great if you both just have the same iPhone with the same internet and the same stuff. As a matter of fact, your internet, I should say, your phone connection, probably living in your shitty apartment in the city, is actually better than the guys with their big homes on the coast, on the cliff in Malibu, or up in the hills of up in the canyons of Beverly Hills or something like that. I bet they have super shitty cell phone reception, which I've always had in any of my big canyon homes, and it does drive this rich guy nuts. But I would say do experiences that other people can't do. I used to say like collect a car or buy a home or do that sort of stuff. But I don't know, go to Paris just because. Do some shit that you'd never be able to do, and maybe get away from the mechanical and the tangible and head toward the experience.
Is there an experience that you're thinking of doing? Like, I don't think you went ziplining when your family did.
Yeah, I was in a bathroom in Compton shooting a TV show while they were ziplining. Yeah, I did it so everyone in my family could do fun shit. you take something like flying privately versus commercially. You're talking to a guy who in a 1 month span or sometimes a 1 week span or sometimes a 2-day span will go, and I'm talking about me, will go from flying on Mark Garrigas's private jet to flying coach on Southwest and in like a 2-day period. And I can tell you, there's a huge chasm between those two experiences, as Max Zapata will attest to. All I can say is this about flying private. It's the only time you go to an airport, get on a plane, and go to another airport where at some point you hear we're landing, and you're like, really? Like, we can't circle a little bit? Like, I just cracked an IPA. We're going to land? Like literally, you're a little disappointed when you land. That's all you need to know about the difference between flying private and flying commercially. That little bit of disappointment. Oh, we're landing already? Like, didn't you experience that, Max Pata?
We flew private from LA to the south of France, and it's still just the coolest thing that I've ever done. It's going to be in my obituary. Like, that's peak me. That's as high as I'll go.
How about me finding a water bottle filled with Mike August's urine after we landed in Paris on a private jet that had the private plane had 5 people and 2 bathrooms. Mike still filled. He still filled the Dasani bottle with his own piss and then left it in the fucking cup holder of the reclining leather seat. And was getting off the plane. He is so fucking lucky I picked up that bottle. I was like, wait a minute. Is this one of those powders you mix in for being jet lagged or something? And I fucking looked at that bottle. I was like, there's no way somebody would piss in a water bottle and leave it on a $110,000 flight in a $65 million jet with 2 bathrooms? No way. But you know what? You know the beauty of me? I said, Mike August is on this plane. I better sniff. I better sniff this fucking bottle.
He deserves a sniff test.
And Mike was like, well, the stewardess was sleeping up front. I didn't want to wake her up. I was like, okay, you know what wakes her up pretty good? Emptying a fucking bottle of your own piss water the next morning. We'll talk about rude.
Still warm.
Yeah, what's ruder? Waking up the fucking stewardess so you can use the bathroom up front, or having her drain your piss bottle the following day in Paris?
Yeah, I would say the latter is far more rude.
The fact that he was walking, he was packing up. Thank God I had so many experiences with urine, another man's urine in my former life. You know, so many of my friends have peed on me over the course of my life that I don't have a strong of. You know, I'm like a physician. You know what I mean? Where the guy, you know, you get the doctor, you're like, I think I got a wart on my weenie, and then everyone's like freaked out, like I don't want to show the doctor, and then Dr. Drew will go, no, they see that stuff all the time. It's no big deal for them. That's the way I feel about Mike's urine. You know what I mean? It may have freaked out the stewardess, but I'm a seasoned veteran when it comes to dude's urine. So I was like, I take it, lift the bottle, I can feel it's warm. Then I take a sniff off it. I assume it's urine. Then I take a hit off it just to make sure.
A little bit.
Dumped it out in the sink in the bathroom. Ugh. And all the annals of flights from Van Nuys, California to Paris. Has anyone filled a bottle with piss? I would, if I ever ran into like Robert Plant or Jimmy Page, and they try to regale me with crazy stories from the 70s about fucking stewardesses like on top of the captain's lap and all that, I'd go, that's all well and good, but have you ever filled a water bottle with piss on a plane that had 2 fucking bathrooms in it? And they'd be like, dude, that's hardcore. I've sniffed ants, and I would never do that. Sorry.
I love it. Oh, man. All right, here's another question.
Since we're revealing embarrassing things about ourselves, Mr. Carolla, I would like to divulge. When I was younger, I would sing Prince's song, Little Red Corvette. I would sing Living Correct.
Mm. Well, in the car.
Awful.
Oh, sorry.
It's just been an awful time, so I'm glad to share that.
Yeah, in the car, it always made me think of my old friend Steve when I was 15. I don't know why. It's car related, but he was singing that Bachman Turner Overdrive song, Taking Care of Business, and he was singing Taking Care of Pistons. So I don't know where he got it, but it's another car. It's sort of the inverse or the opposite of what she just did. She took a car thing and turned it into a non-car thing. Steve turned a non-car thing and turned it into a car thing. And speaking of BTO, you could cover a BTO song. It wouldn't kill you, Chris. People love BTO. Pretty straight.
I'll add it to the list.
Pretty straight away chord progressions there. And they got, you don't have to do Taking Care of Business. Trying to think of,
You ain't seen nothing yet.
No, don't do Taking Care of Business and don't do You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Do Let It Roll Down the Highway. Na, 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 na. It's got a great riff. Na, na, na. It's got a great lick. Na, 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 na. And it's a rock song. And he's talking about like rambling and rolling and all that kind of shit. Let it roll. Bow, na, 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 na. Oh, my friend always used to sing Diamond Highway, but it's down the highway. And they do that thing where everyone comes in, roll, roll. And then they stop everything and they do that thing where the guy just hits the drum pedal. He just kicks the bass. Doom, doom. And the guy comes in. Bow, na, 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 na. You know what song I'm talking about, Max Bada?
I can't think of it, no.
Oh, man. How can we play that song?
I'm going to check it out first thing.
Nah, I want to hear that song now. How can we do that? Like, fire it up on your phone and put it into the microphone. Tell someone around you to do it. Let It Roll by BTO. You're going to like that song. We're live.
Play it on your phone.
We're live on stereo, by the way, if you guys want to join the conversation. I must, in all our drunken road trips, I certainly must have requested Let It Roll by BTO for you, Max Zapata, at some point.
I'm sure. I mean, we've had a lot of road trips and a lot of songs.
Yes.
That we've listened to. I got to add that one to the list, especially something to cover at the next cruise.
I think it's a good, solid rock riff. It's a good lick. It's kind of a deep cut. It doesn't get any spins. No one's going to know it. When your drummer's not destroying the bathroom on the cruise ship, he could join in, because it's one of these things where everyone just sings the song in the band. Like everyone goes, let it roll. I think Dawson's got it on his
gang vocals.
Gang vocals. Dawson's got it on his. Oh yeah, put into that mic. Good riff. It's got this part too. We ready to try.
I do know this song.
It's a rock song, right?
Yeah. There's an attitude.
So much more. I could see you doing this one, Laxamana.
Yeah. If anyone else has any cover requests, leave an audio message up stereo.
All right, here it comes. Down the highway. Let it roll. And it's got this riff, right? This part. All right, we got it. Yeah, and at a certain point, the guy's just hitting the kick pedal. That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's a good, straightforward rock song. Deep cut. No one ever hears that song, and it's also one of these things where you don't need to hear it 30 times to get into it. You have a couple of belts, you'll be into it in real time.
I'm into it. I'm already into it. All right, here's another question.
Hey, Ace, it's Steve in Atlanta. My daughter Quinn's in the backseat. Quinn, say get it on. Get on. We just wanted to say hi. Love you guys. Love Max Pata. And just keep it up. Podcast is great. Gina, Bald, everybody. And looking forward to a great 2021. Keep going out to eat. Support the local businesses. You're the best.
Yeah, we will, and I will. I mean, I went to Vegas just to really go out and eat. I got to tell you, man, if anyone hasn't experienced the majesty of Mr. Chow, oh, man, that is Chinese food. Oh. You know, you can kind of tell a good Chinese food place, Max Pata? The sweet and sour pork. The crappy places try too hard. First off, it's always like bright red or orange, right? And it's super gooey and covered in goo and all that kind of stuff. Too sauce, too sweet, too sauce, too gooed. The good Chinese food places are like secure with their sweet and sour. They're like, yeah, it's sweet and sour, but it's called fucking sweet and sour pork, not sweet and sour goo. I mean, we got to have some pork in there. We got to have some pineapple. We got to be some bell pepper, and light must pass through the sauce. You know what I mean? Like you go to a shitty Chinese food place, you take a half ounce of that goo sauce, you put on the end of a flashlight, and no light will pass through it. You got to be a little bit secure. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. And look, we've had Chinese food many times. It is probably the most surprising meal that I eat with you guys because me and August, we put down probably enough for 7 people,
right?
And not a grain of rice left on those plates.
No. Well, also, you know, Mike, like he'll use his sleeve to mop up whatever's left in the bowl. You know what I mean? He'll literally use his sleeve and then suck on it like you're giving a baby a medication or something like that. So, yes, I like that. I like your mentality. I like Mike's mentality. I like my mentality. Like no grain left behind. We're not leaving any of our brothers behind. It's like we're in country and we're Navy SEALs. I don't care. It's not staying behind. Well, you know me. I go to a steakhouse in Chicago and bring my leftover steak back with me to LA. Don't care.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Yes, because I oftentimes give you either the lobster guts when I come back, or the steak. All right, should we do one more?
We got one more here. Let's do it.
Hey guys, first time caller, long time listener. Feeling bad for Dr. Drew with all the crap he's getting on social media about getting COVID, but kind of ultimately I think the COVID will prove his point. Basically that he is informed of what's going on, and you know, no one knew exactly what was happening at first, but ultimately he's proven correctly. He's going to be alive. He's going to be fine. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I think there's and by the way, you're listening on the Stereo app, and if you're just tuning in, we're live, coast to coast on Stereo. I think the disconnect came, which is the news and a lot of the authority figures were pitching this thing like if you got it, you died. And guys like me and Drew were pushing back against that theme, which is if you're old and you have pre-existing conditions, then you have a chance of dying, but it's not statistically going to happen if you're young and you're healthy. That in this world where there's no room for nuance, that somehow got shifted into some sort of denier thing. Just like me saying, don't wear a fucking mask on the beach, you retards. That somehow turned into, he's an anti-masker. I just got off a Southwest flight. I just got back from Vegas. I walked through 1,000 casinos. I went into restaurants. I went through airports. I wore a mask everywhere because you have to wear your mask at all those places. And it's just a courtesy to all the other people that are freaked out. Now, a lot of the data around the masks are suggesting it's probably not nearly as effective as they touted it to be, but they're wrong about everything. But somehow me making fun of people walking alone on a windy, sunny beach wearing a mask. Somehow that got translated into he's an anti-masker or is a COVID denier.
Yeah.
You fuckers are all full of shit, by the way. You're such assholes. And by the way, if that's the way you interpret information, you should all kill yourself. Because there's no way you're interpreting that information. You're twisting that information to put it into your narrative. And obviously, Drew's not an anti-masker. Drew's said 10,000 times to wear a mask, and as so have I, who dutifully puts one on every time I go into an airport or a Trader Joe's or anything like that. I'm saying don't walk your dog alone on a fucking horse trail, you fucking sheep, with a mask on. And then, I had this... the biggest revelation for me during this whole thing is not... It wasn't the COVID disease and it wasn't the politicians and wasn't anything. It's like what fucking little dropping bitches that everyone turned into about like trying to shame people for not wearing a mask outside and all that kind of shit. It's sad what fucking sad sheep everyone turned into. But I had this thought, and maybe this will dovetail into this sort of sheep herd mentality that so many people, maybe it's a California thing, but so many pussies here have just run with this whole fucking lockdown mess and this whole, I'm talking about eating dinner outdoors at a restaurant, supporting small businesses, and they're saying I'm a COVID denier, which, again, suck my dick, you fucking retards, number one. Number two, think about this. When I come to this studio every day, I get off the freeway. The freeway off-ramp has 3 lanes. 1 lane to turn right, 2 lanes to turn left. I often see 15 cars all piled up in one left turn lane, and the other left turn lane is wide open. And I just drive by this huge line of cars waiting to turn left who got there long before I did. And I go right up to the front of the open lane and I turn left. And I think when I look at these people, there's a sign that says you can turn left on 2 lanes. Plus, these people aren't from out of town. They live around here. This is how they get off the freeway. They get in line behind the person who is in front of them. They're not in that lane because they like that lane. They're in that lane because someone is ahead of them in that lane and they just got in line. They just got in line. They just pulled in behind. They did no thinking. They blocked out any of the stimulus or the information and they just went, you know what? This guy's in line. I'm going to get in line. So you see this thing and you realize, there's a sheep horde lemming mentality that many weak, dumb people have. And it's pervasive. And when you point it out, you then shame them. And then they get super angry and they tweet at you, which then I find amusing. Again, we're live on stereo, so don't sit there silently. You can talk to us live on the stereo app. Yeah, isn't this the
now
biggest?
That you've put it out.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm saying, now that you put it out there that you're officially not an anti-masker, as everyone on the internet's been saying. So you wear your mask everywhere around Vegas and to Trader Joe's. You're a celebrity. Do you get recognized still, or do you enjoy the a little bit more privacy?
I kind of like I like wearing the mask, but I normally just wear it around my chin, which is part of it. And then I take pictures with people, and then people always tell me to pull the mask up. Not the people I'm taking the pictures with, but the idea is you're not supposed to take pictures with the mask down. Although the piece of shit 49-cent mask I've had rolling around the passenger seat of my car for 4 months, that's around.
I know the one.
It's not properly fitted to me at all. I guarantee it is all theater. That is 100% theater. There is nothing medical or scientific going on with that mask whatsoever. It prevents nothing. It's doing nothing. Not my mask. I'm not talking about getting an M95 and going into a surgical environment. I'm talking about the ones you see. You put it through this way. I just got off a Southwest flight. Southwest flight probably had 200 people on the airplane. Out of the 200 people, I would say 11 of them had a proper mask that fitted them properly and kept it on perfectly for the entire length of the flight. The other 189 people either were wearing an old mask or a mask you could see daylight peeking through, or the mask was around their chin while they were eating, or their nose was hanging out. Anything but scientific. So there you have it. And why isn't everyone on that flight sick? I mean, you're taking 200 people and you're essentially taking 200 people and putting them into something that's 12 feet wide and 61 feet long. Like, that would be the most crowded restaurant you've ever eaten at in your life. If you took one of those Southwest flights with 200 people in it and you took each chair and you spread it out 6 foot from one another, it would take up a football field if you did it properly. You understand? That's literally a football field. And if that was a restaurant and you wanted to take that same square footage and safely complied all the COVID regulations and put people in that restaurant, there would be room with that footprint of that 737. If that was a restaurant and you wanted to comply, the maximum capacity would be 14 people. There are 200 people. Yeah. So you tell me about the science, bitches. All right, you're listening live on stereo. Should we bring it home, Max Pata?
Let's do it.
You can check me out. Naples, Florida is coming up this week, Off the Hook. Doing stand-up next week, I should say, January 15th, 16th. And the shows are almost sold out, so you want to jump on that. Burbank, California, doing the Pickwick Bowling Alley January 23rd, doing a drive-in show and a car show. So you can come on out. Dawson's going to be doing some stand-up there, too. Oklahoma City, Bricktown Comedy Club, February 26th, 27th. Live shows everywhere. Just go down Carolla.com and you can watch stand-up there on our YouTube page. And get my book. I'm Your Emotional Support Animal. Give it a review. I'll review it.
Yeah.
I'll read the reviews, I should say.
And tomorrow we're gonna do Tales from the Cheap. So everybody call in with your cheap stories. It could be holiday based, doesn't have to be though. And Fitzdog.
Ooh, love Fitzdog. So until next time, Adam Carolla, Dr. Drew, and Gina Grad, and Bald Bryan, and Chris Max Pata saying, mahalo.